Hello everyone, and welcome back to Think Outside the Board for another episode of the Crowdfunding Roundup. In this week's episode, we're going to be looking at 5 different games, and as time goes on and I sort of redefine what I'm doing with this series, I'm realizing that I'm scaling things back. So I'm not covering everything that's out there. I was doing that for a long time on my website over at Think Outside the Board and on my YouTube series. And in the interest of eventually getting other content launched, like teach and review videos and live streaming of games, I've scaled back what I'm doing with this series to try to focus on just those games that I think people will be the most interested in. What that means is, from my initial list I was looking at to cover today, I've cut out 4 games. And those 4 games, if you're curious, are Chai Garum, which I decided was just a little bit too simple. It's just another kind of recipe game. And this one already exists. It came out in 2021. So it's a 2nd edition, and it's undergoing a campaign right now on Gamefound. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out over at Gamefound. I also decided not to cover Milkman, which is a new campaign on Kickstarter from Dice Hate Me Games. And the more I looked at the gameplay, the more it just didn't really gel with me. I'm also not covering a game called To Glory from Vesuvius Media. That one is on Kickstarter as well. And that's an action dexterity game. And those just aren't normally the kinds of games that I cover unless they're really, really unique. But if there's something that goes above and beyond that's really creative or does something new in the genre, then I'll cover it. I didn't feel like To Glory did that, but if people are interested in that game, that's on Kickstarter as well. And the last game I decided not to cover is called Western Front Ace. It's the latest war game from Compass Games. I'm just not a huge war gamer. Compass Games is a sort of premier publisher of war games, but they put out a new campaign every other month or so. And so I'm not going to be covering everything that the Compass Games does. So condensing the list, those 4 are no longer going to be included this week, which means we're only looking at 5 campaigns. And one of them actually is a game that I normally wouldn't cover, but this one has me so enthused, I thought that my audience might be interested in it. And that's the one that we'll look at first, so I'm going to keep it a bit of a secret for the moment. But as always, my videos are tabbed, so you can just scroll over the play bar and see exactly what you're looking for if there's a specific campaign and go right to that. And also in the description, I have links to all of the campaigns that I'm talking about. So if at any point when I'm talking about these 5 campaigns, if one of them strikes a chord for you, you can go down into the description section, click on the link, and it will take you right to that campaign. My apologies for this video being a little bit delayed this week. I'm shooting it on Friday night, so it probably won't be posted until Saturday, possibly even Sunday, because I have a lot going on tomorrow. And if that's the case, you know, you're seeing this on a Saturday or Sunday when it first launches, just know in another 4 days or so, on Wednesday, maybe Thursday, next week's video will be coming out. So it will be a shorter wait between this video and the next video. Okay, all that said, let's take a look at the first game, which is Secrets of the Greenwold. And I normally would not cover this because this is not a board game. This is a role-playing campaign. This is actually, it's themed around Dungeons and Dragons, but what they've done is they've created an entire year-long campaign, D&D campaign, that you can follow. Now, this is part of a bigger website called Dungeon in a Box. So if you look here, you can see the publisher is called Dungeon in a Box. They have sort of 2 different subscription things that are ongoing. And if you're really interested in this, once we take a look at this, I'm going to play the video in a minute, you can go to their website, and they have an ongoing subscription model. So whenever you kind of jump into that subscription model, you're going to pay a monthly fee, and you'll start getting kind of 1 chapter every month. And so, you know, whatever point you come in during the year, they will start you at the beginning of that new year-long campaign. And, you know, if you're in it for 12 months, you'll get all 12 parts of the campaign. So this is a great tool, I think, if you're wanting to play more Dungeons and Dragons and you want to have some of the work in creating a longer campaign done for you. Now, Dungeon in a Box, I think, is on their 5th year doing this. And they also do one-shots. So if you were to sign up with Dungeon in a Box on their website and do their normal kind of monthly campaign, their year-long big campaigns, and you still wanted more, you could also get one-shots from their website. But what they've done is, because they run a new campaign every year and they're not going back, they have taken their very first year's campaign, the one that they did, I think, 5 years ago, and they've put it on Gamefound. And so if you are, interested in Dungeon in a Box, or if it's a site that you use now, but you didn't play the first campaign, and you want to go back and see where it all started and play their first big campaign, you can do this through this campaign on Gamefound. And I think this is really cool. I would do this in a heartbeat, except that I'm already up to my nose and my eyes, my ears in board games, and I don't really have the time to do a big D&D campaign. But if I did, if I wasn't like trying to get a bunch of big campaign board games played and doing work behind the scenes to get, my teach and reviews relaunched and do live streaming of games, this is something I would jump on in a second. And I think this is really cool. And they've got a lot of kind of other stuff in this campaign, supplemental material. And they've got acrylic standees, which they call skinny minis. So that way it's not hugely expensive or hugely expansive space-wise. It's not a million miniatures. It's smaller acrylic standees, which look just as good, often in my opinion. But they can that way fit a whole year's worth of campaign and creatures and things like that all into one massive box. So let's take a look here at the campaign. Let's look at the video, and then we'll come back and look at the other stats about this campaign. Okay, so I know that was really short, but I also think it does give you an idea of what they're trying to do, which is to take a D&D campaign, add on some supplemental materials, and it almost does become like a board game. Now you can see here their funding goal is 20 grand. They're already 104 grand. This campaign launched on Thursday of last week. So it's been up for about 8 days now as I'm shooting this. So it's got 21 days left. The campaign's going to end on May the 20th. And as we go down here, we're going to take a look at some of the other stuff. But you can see here the complete adventure bundle is $199 plus shipping. But this is so cool. I'm like, oh man, I wish I had the time and was able to play D&D right now. And you can see from that video that it's going to run characters from level 1 through level 10. So you'll be starting this campaign with new characters, with a group of friends. And by the time you're done in a year's time, your characters will all be at level 10. And they've got other stuff that comes with it. Obviously, this bestiary that's going to be focusing on the monsters of this campaign. This is what their complete adventure bundle looks like here, with all their little skinny minis. But we'll take a closer look at that. So the complete adventure bundle, $199, is going to include all this stuff. You've got a hardcover campaign book, hardcover bestiary book, your skinny minis collection, encounter maps, a legacy system, which makes it feel a little bit more like a board game, I suppose, but role-playing always is a legacy game, right? Terrain tiles, soundtrack, digital maps, digital bestiary and campaign books, digital tokens and tiles, and digital handouts. But I really like the idea that they're kind of doing a lot of the dungeon master work and, campaign creation for you. I believe you still do need a Dungeon Master player to be running the campaign. I don't think that it runs itself. I don't think that it works like, you know, the game itself is now the Dungeon Master. I believe you still do need a DM for this, but it takes a lot of the work away from doing that. So they've got other pledges for other things here. There's like early birds that are gone. There's digital book sets. And these are all just, you know, some of the things that are available in that complete bundle. One of the things I think that's the most interesting is this Skinny Minis collection, which you can get separately. And these are these kind of acrylic standees. And so if for some reason you didn't want their campaign, shame on you. But if you didn't want their campaign and you just wanted some, you know, monster minis, and obviously they're different sizes, like this dragon one here looks much bigger than some of the other monsters. But this could be, you know, a good thing just to have these acrylics. And then they also have this as a separate thing if you wanted this complete bundle, storage binders and sheets, just to kind of keep everything collected. But this looks so cool to me. And you know, they've got this broken out by campaign books. It looks very much like D&D modules here. And they're creating, you know, separate, they've got different art for it and all of these little extras. So I think this is really cool, as I've already said a few times. Here's some of those Skinny Minis. I'm really warming to really good standees. Acrylic standees are pretty good usually because, you know, the part of it that's clear, that's not the creature, just becomes see-through and you don't really see them on the table. And you can get some really, really good art on standees, and, you know, they take up a lot less space than minis. And sometimes if you're not painting your minis, if they're just these gray blobby minis, they don't necessarily look that good on the table, whereas a lot of times these acrylics are already, you know, kind of fully factory painted. So I think a lot of this stuff looks pretty cool. This is just what some of the different art looks like. And they've also improved things a little bit since this, you know, was their first campaign like 5 years ago. So some things have been improved. And if you really like this, you know, you can always be on the lookout. They may do another one in the future, but you can always go to their website, Dungeon in a Box, and just, you know, start doing a monthly subscription there, and you'll start a whole new annual campaign. But I think this is really neat that they're going back and putting this out and just kind of putting a whole year's worth of content into a box. Okay, so shipping. Here's the big question, right? So if you get the complete bundle, which is that $200, $199 pledge, in the US, that's going to bring the total to $224 with shipping. And if if you've been wanting to play D&D lately and maybe kind of putting together the campaign is something that's stopping you from getting that done, this could be an excellent solution for you. Okay, so that is the first thing that we're looking at here. That came out, like I said, last Thursday. And this also came out last Thursday. It's They Live, the card game, based on the John Carpenter film. And this is the one where there is like a 5 or 10 minute fight in the movie where, who is it? I think it's Keith David who's trying to get Roddy Piper to put on a pair of sunglasses. And they have this fight scene that goes on for like 10 minutes across multiple locations where he's like, just put on the sunglasses. Actually, it might be the other way around. It might be Roddy Piper that's trying to get Keith David to put on the sunglasses. Keith David, who was also in John Carpenter's The Thing, was one of the last two alive along with Kurt Russell. And this is also the movie that made famous that line, I'm just here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. And I think Duke Nukem took that and made it more famous, but I believe it was originally in They Live. So some pop culture notes for you. Anyway, this is a card game. It's not too hugely complex a game. It does have a cool little die that says kick ass and chew bubblegum on it. I think it's Devin Norris from Quackalope actually does a really good, even though he's looking at a sheet while he does it, he does a really good explanation of the rules and things. And a part of me would like to play that video, but I don't think that's really right for me to play another channel's video in full. I think it's one thing if I'm playing a video that the campaign puts out, because that's their advertising video. But I don't think it would really be appropriate for me to play in full another channel's video without their permission, because that's not cool. Even if behind that I was thinking, well, yeah, but you'll watch this here and then you'll go out and look at that channel more. I will just say go to Quackalope, or go on the page here. Here's this video, the They Live preview, and he does a pretty good job of explaining all the mechanics of this card game. And you get to see the components there as well. But it's a card game. You're going to have a market of cards that come out every round. At the end of that round, players have to sort of draft those cards. Sometimes drafting those cards could cause players to take damage. And there's a kind of an interesting mechanic where you have a health bar, there's green squares on the health bar, and there's red squares. And once you get down into the red squares, your character is in critical health. And so at that point, when you are in that critical level of health, other players can use the sunglasses and look at the secret card that you have that reveals whether or not you are human or an alien, and thus, your agenda for the game. Because like a lot of card games with, different identities, different groups of identities, this is going to be kind of a traitor game, not really variable player powers because it's just factions, but depending whether you're human or whether you're alien, you're going to be trying to manipulate different winning endgame conditions. And, it's just kind of a simple card game. There's not too much going on. Again, I would recommend you to check out that video with all of the mechanics. But I just like the theme, and there are a lot of little things in here that look like the theme has been very interestingly represented, I guess. I'm curious about this game, and I think if, like me, you two were a child of the 70s or 80s, and you actually grew up with this movie, unlike Devin Norris, who says he's never seen it, this theme may have appeal for you. And it's a great theme for a game, this kind of like the sunglasses, especially with what's kind of happened with 3D glasses where you can look at certain things and see certain text there if you're wearing the glasses or not. I think it's a great little gimmick to be gamified, and I'm very curious about this game. Okay, so They Live the card game. You know what? Let's watch the video just so I have something to show you, but I don't think the video I don't think it shows you that much, but let's just do it so I can show you something.
Who finally showed? You're late.
What did you expect? You left me out there against them with nothing but this.
As I was saying, we need you to take the financial
Done listening to you. Ain't it strange that you always get exactly what you want? I know you're one of them. That's why you stopped us wearing the sunglasses in here.
So it's this again. They are enslaving the city because we're wasting time accusing each other. You know what? I ain't going around circles. Put on the glasses. See? I told you I was human.
Step into the world of John Carpenter's They Live in this horse-pounding new card game. Trust is a luxury you can't afford as you arm yourselves to battle unknown enemies.
But I was sure it was you.
That sounds like something an invader would say.
I've got one that can see.
Are you ready to kick ass and chew bubblegum? Save or enslave the city? That's up to you. Back now on Kickstarter.
All right, so that's the video. We can see here they have a funding goal of $25,000. They're at $48,000, so they're funded. And this one's on Kickstarter. This Secrets of the Greenwold, that's over on Gamefound. So this is on Kickstarter. The campaign's going to end on May 20th. I think that was the same ending date as Secrets of the Greenwold. Either way, it's funded. This is being published by Iconic Studios. This is, I think it's only the second game they've made, and the first one was They Live the board game. So now they're making a card game. And hopefully this is a little bit better than the board game, because I don't think I've heard great things about the board game. But it's a different designer. Same publisher, different designer. Okay, and so, we just take a look down at the pledge levels here. So $32 for the game. And there's an upgrade pack that you will get if you pledge for $44. The pledge level, I've got one that can see. And then I think if we go from there, oh, they're just throwing in a bunch of neoprene mats. So that'd be a $63 pledge. And if we look at in the continental US, shipping prices are in pounds. So that's 8, 8, and 10, which would be what? 13, 10, and 13. So that means, okay, so that means the base game is going to be 42 in the US. With the upgrade pack, it's going to be 54. And then with the neoprene mats, you're looking at $76. I don't know if I'd go for neoprene mats on this one. It's just a simple card game, and I think that probably brings the price too high for what this game is. But I'd probably, if I was backing it, I'd probably go ahead and back with the level with the upgrade pack, because why not? Why not just get all the content that you can? And here are some of the people behind it. So the designer here is Luke Melia, and the artists are Hugo Dorado, Macastoni Carvalho, and Alexia Rodriguez. And then you could see in their little bios here, they've got the project managers as one of the aliens. Evil corporate overlords. Okay, so that is They Live the card game, which just looks pretty curious to me, mainly because of the theme. And I love a lot of John Carpenter movies, and I love They Live, and could be fun. So that also came out last Thursday. And then of the, normally Tuesday is a big launch day for crowdfunding games, but this week it wasn't so big, and so I'm only looking at 3 of the Tuesday launches. Now, one of these is Endeavor Deep Sea. You may know Endeavor Age of Sail already, which was published by Burnt Island Games. This publisher here, Age of Gaming, is a new entity that is a collaboration between Burnt Island Games and Grand Gamers Guild. So it's those two publishers working together to make what's kind of a sequel game to Endeavor Age of Sail. So Burnt Island, I think, did Endeavor once, like a while back, and then they relaunched it with a second edition, and then they did like an expansion for it. So now they're doing a sequel game, completely different game, and it's just taking the same, similar theme, but different gameplay, some different mechanics. Now, as we can see, they had a funding goal of $60,000. They're currently at $153,000. Now, again, this came out on a Tuesday. I'm shooting this on a Friday, so they've been up for about 3 days now, and in that time, they're almost 2.5 times funded here. And we can see that this campaign will end on May 18th, 2 days before the other 2 campaigns. But let's take a look at the video for this one, and then we'll look at the pledge levels.
In Endeavor Deep Sea, you lead an environmental research initiative exploring the ocean's deep mysteries and helping to conserve its precious balance. As your adventure unfolds, the squad of specialists you assemble will bring the skills you'll need to discover new zones of interest in the ocean. Travel far and deep in your sophisticated undersea vessels. Dive to gather valuable research. Complete critical conservation projects to protect the sea and generate positive impact. And journal your observations to gain advantages and promote your team members. Develop your attributes of reputation, inspiration, coordination, and ingenuity, tailoring your capabilities to your strategy. Fans of the Endeavor series will recognize its signature gameplay engine and exquisite pacing. It propels you into a new and captivating environment that reveals itself differently in each game. And you'll be equipped with a whole new set of actions for interacting with the wonders of the deep. Every time you set sail, you'll choose one of many scenarios, each with its own unique rules, setup, scoring goals, and impact board. Every single scenario can be played competitively, cooperatively, or as a solo mission. However you play, your mission remains the same. You must make a positive environmental impact for future generations. The health of the sea and our world hangs in the balance. Pack your gear, prepare your crew, and plunge into Endeavor Deep Sea.
Okay, now this one's on Gamefound, just like the D&D campaign was. And I think, I think if I was going to back something out of this video, I think it would probably be Endeavor Deep Sea. I'm not sure that I am. I do have, the other game in full. But I am kind of on the fence with this one. I am considering it. I'm just trying to back less stuff personally right now. And, the gameplay here is different than the original game. And I think Kristen actually would really like this. It looks a little bit lighter than the original to me, although the original is not really that complex either, but this one looks a little bit lighter to me, and it's just mechanically kind of different. But I'm really intrigued by this, and I like the idea that you can play it solo or competitive or cooperatively, and that you've got like different scenarios you can kind of look through. And in general, I think Burnt Island Games is a really good publisher, and I've backed a lot of their stuff, and I have a very high opinion of the quality of their games. Always like recessed player mats, and these player trays are great. There is a campaign, and I think it's this one, where they're doing it very eco-friendly, and the game trays are not made out of plastic. They're made out of like this sugar pulp, cane sugar byproduct called, I think it's called bagasse. I think it's this campaign, but I don't want to be hunting for this forever and wasting everyone's time. Yeah, right here. Bagasse game trays inserts. Instead of plastic for the game trays molded inserts, we will be using bagasse, which is a byproduct of sugarcane processing. It can be pressed and molded to form durable and detailed inserts that increase sustainability without reducing that trademark functionality. Now, I know in board gaming, when all these games are getting produced, there's a lot of resources that are going into it. There's a lot of paper, stuff like that. Not any more than a lot of things around the world. And board gaming is still pretty niche. But I think a lot of publishers out there are smaller. And I think a lot of people in board gaming care about other people in the world, maybe more than most. So I think it's just kind of fun to see these kinds of innovations in sustainability, being introduced in board gaming before I've seen them too many other places. So that's pretty cool. Okay, let's take a look at the prices for this. So, they've got an upgrade pack. And the reason that they have an upgrade pack, and I think we're starting to see this more and more, is that they are hoping to produce language editions in other languages in the future, and they may be doing that through certain partners. And so the idea is, if they do that, those versions may just be the retail versions. So if you live in a country where they don't have a language edition that's being I want to say kickstarted, crowdfunded through this campaign, but they're hopefully going to be getting it made with a partner in the future, you could just back for the upgrade pack, and that way, when, I don't know, let's say you're in Brazil or something, if it's just a retail edition that they end up sending to Brazil, at least you'd have the upgrade pack, and then you put the two things together and you'd essentially have a Kickstarter edition. So that's why this is so cheap. It's not the whole game, it's just the extras. Now, what you're probably looking at here is this deluxe edition for $69, or the retail edition for $59, so $10 cheaper. And, well, I mean, here, this is going to tell us what is different, right? This upgrade pack. So you're getting, these game trays. You're getting these game trays things, these recessed player boards. The game trays not only that hold the components, but are the player trays. You're getting some deluxeified wooden player pieces. And this is just a closer look at, some of the things like the scoring markers, the recessed player boards, and then just various things that are held here in these game tray systems. So these are the kinds of things that will be in the deluxe version, which means if you're going from this retail edition, which is $59, to this deluxe edition, which is $69, they're essentially giving you $25 worth of extras for $10. So you're getting some savings right off the bat. Okay, and then they've just got like a retailer pledge down here. Now, if we want to go down to shipping, let's just remember our pledges. What did we say, 59 and 69? Yeah. So if we go down to shipping, in the US, here we are, $16, which means that's going to bring the price of the retail version, I think, to $65 and the deluxe to $75. 75 and 85. So $75 for the retail edition with shipping and $85 for the deluxe edition with shipping in the continental US. And that is the latest in the Endeavor series from Burnt Island Games and now Grand Gamers Guild in this new entity called Age of Gaming, and this is on Gamefound. From there, we're going to look at Guards of Atlantis 2 Tabletop MOBA, and I don't know that there are too many tabletop MOBAs out there. I mean, Mechs and Minions, I think, is one. If we're talking in the video game realm, you're looking at more like League of Legends or Dota. But this is essentially what MOBA stands for is Multiplayer Online Battle Arena. So it's essentially a fighting game. Although obviously with a tabletop game it is not online and it is not really multiplayer other than the 2 people that you have playing the game, or maybe 3, 4, depends on if the game can support more than 2 people. So the idea of a tabletop MOBA in its name is a little nonsensical, but it gives you an idea for what it is if you're aware of MOBAs in general. Now, what this is, it's just a big battle arena fighter. And look, you know what? We're going to watch the very beginning of this. Again, it's another channel's video, so I feel a little weird about playing the whole thing, but it is being used at the top of the page here. And so I'm going to play just a couple minutes of this because this is from Shut Up and Sit Down, and I think they do a really good job of showing off the game. So I'm going to just show this video for like a minute or 2. I think it's like an 8-minute video. And if you want to watch more of this video, you can either go to the page on Gamefound to do that or go check it out on Sit Up and Shut Down.
Tom, what do you want now more than anything in the world? To play a game of Dota 2? Well, you can't, because both you and I have spent 1,000 hours playing Dota 2, and it's basically an addiction, and we know if we go back, we may never escape. We can't return. We can't. You can't go back. Guards of Atlantis 2. It's a tabletop game that is kind of like a MOBA. What is a MOBA? It's like Dota 2, it's like League of Legends. Please, Tom, sit back. I know you love jungling, but don't walk into bushes. He's gone. This is a game in which you're going to play 2v2 or 3v3. And in fact, the manual has a special kind of like expert book that just says, don't read this yet. Wait until you've played the game, because there's all these other rules and stuff you can do. But even before that, there's a whole lot of stuff going on within this game. If you're not familiar, the way it works is you have 2 sides which both have the champions. Over here we have the baddies because they're red, and over here, just off camera.
So I'm just going to stop this here, but this gives you a look at the board, and as he said, it's either going to be a 2v2 or 3v3 game. So you're looking at either a 4-player game or a 6-player game, and it's in teams, and you have all these characters to choose from. And then you have these little, kind of player boards with 4 different cards. It's kind of what you do over a round. You don't have to go to the full extent of planning out all your 4 cards for the whole round, but players will simultaneously reveal all cards at once. So like everyone will reveal their first card. They'll put down their first card and then they'll reveal them. And that will determine what they're doing for the first action of that round. And then after everyone takes actions, then they'll all do the second card. But it's kind of simultaneous play in that sense, and it's a battle arena game, and it's got a lot of characters. And if you want to go and look at this video more, they'll talk about it a little bit more and show you more, but essentially that is what the game is. And here's a look at some of these, kind of components and things. And again, we're on Gamefound for this one, for this campaign. There's more and more stuff going to Gamefound. I think it's maybe a better place to crowdfund board games, but the problem is that board games don't then get the traffic from the rest of the site, right? Because Kickstarter has a lot of different things, whereas Gamefound is just board games. So if you're making a board game that you want to appeal to a lot of people, you're hoping to get some, casual gamers and non-gamers in there, Kickstarter is probably the better place. But for gamers, I think Gamefound is just becoming a little bit better for what it is, but you don't have the same traffic and you don't necessarily make the same amounts of money yet. So here are some, kind of maps, and here's the big map, the big board, and the miniatures, and more miniatures, and dashboards, and plastic inserts. You're going to have a plastic insert for all your different characters. Matt Lees, I've watched the whole video, but he does talk about this. What did he compare it to? I think he compared to a lot of the iconography and the way it triggers and works to Gloomhaven a little bit. So this just gives you a look at all the different characters here. You could be choosing from lots of choices, and yeah, I think this looks pretty cool to me. But I probably won't back it because, a MOBA game is kind of a lifestyle game, and I think I already have my lifestyle games chosen as more dungeon crawlers and things like that. I just don't want to get another big game that's going to require me to play with more time than I have. But I do think it looks really cool, and I think if you like MOBAs and you like tabletop MOBAs, or want to feel, bring that experience of a video game MOBA into the tabletop world, this seems like an excellent way to do this. It's also, this is Guards of Atlantis too, so there was another Guards of Atlantis, which means they're tweaking and refining their system, so it's probably going to be that much better. Now they've got a pledge here just for the 2 new hero packs. It's $90, or you can get the, this kind of base game here for $66. And then if you want to get the base game with all 5 of the hero packs, you're looking at a $280 pledge. And then there's, you can kind of just pick and choose, mix and match. There's also sleeves down here. There's some neoprene mats as add-ons, and tuck boxes too. So if you were, let's just look at one thing. No, let's look at 2. Let's look at the base game for $66, and this kind of all in here for $280. So with shipping in the continental US, you're looking at, oh boy, what is it? Do I still have this up? Which one? Are you in euros? Oh, that was in pounds, wasn't it? I need euros. All right. So 22 and 29. Okay. So 20, let's just call it 25. 25 and 32. 25 and 32, meaning just the base game, including shipping in the continental US, is going to be 91, 92. And the other one, what did we say that was? 32. So you're looking at roughly $312, $313. And if we look back up top, their funding goal here was $33,000. They're super well funded, $487,000. So they're cresting on $500,000 here. And this campaign will end on May 25th. But this looks pretty cool. And that brings us to the very last campaign of the week. It is for Papillon Gardens. Now, this is being put out by Colossal Games. I've actually played the original Papillon, which is this butterfly game where you're putting these little butterflies on flowers with these little butterfly kind of paper clips. And that game, in my opinion, was very poorly produced because as soon as you started putting the butterflies on the flowers, the components would all fall apart. Production-wise, I thought it was one of the most poorly produced games I've ever encountered. But Colossal has done a lot of other stuff. They've done like Western Legends, and this game is a stamp and write game. So it's like a roll and write game, but instead of writing in things, you're going to actually have these stamps that you can put, stamp on things, which is actually cool. It makes gameplay a little bit faster, and you've got like a lot of colorful flowers you'll be able to stamp with. My point though is that the component problem that I believe is in Papillon will not be here. It's not the same thing. Now, I did think Papillon was a kind of interesting game. It was your typical set collection game with this really interesting mechanic based around butterfly type clothespins. I thought it was really clever and brilliant the way that it was designed. The production didn't come together. But I thought for a light game, the theme was cool and the idea was really neat. So, okay, here they have a funding goal of $10,000. They're only at $6,500, so they're not there yet. However, based on the rule that I always kind of say, usually campaigns will do the first 2/3 of their business in the first 48 hours and the last third of their business in the last 24 hours. And considering that Colossal is also a fairly well-known publisher, I think it's pretty safe to say that they will end up funding as long as they don't decide to cancel the campaign and maybe come back later having retooled it a little bit, which maybe they'll want to do that if it's not funding up to their expectations. But I think if they do leave it alone, it will fund. And it is a roll and write game essentially. Let's take a quick look.
It's time to welcome the butterflies back to your garden as spring is finally here. With an empty field in front of you, you'll need a steady hand and a keen eye to arrange the most beautiful garden. Add features to decorate, attract critters with new plots of grass, and get help from the friendly gnomes to watch your flower garden grow in this creative and unique stamp and write for 1 to 100 players. In Papillon Gardens, each player has their own garden that they will grow over 10 rounds. In each round, 3 new garden cards will be revealed and caterpillar dice rolled to create an array of options for each gardener. Choose any of the available combinations to add to your garden. Stamp flowers, build walls, and welcome critters to their new homes. Use the flower stamps to mark out new additions of color in your field. A good gardener knows how important it is to group your flowers together. But even a master gardener needs help. Caterpillars will collect in your garden and help the flowers grow. You'll gain bonuses that you can use on a variety of things. Birds, ants, frogs, and other creatures will nestle in among the flowers and grant you points. You need to provide them with a nice field to live in, though. Enhance your garden with a statue or a hammock. Shape and enhance your garden and score bonuses for a variety of different combinations. Gardening may not always be easy, but as you sit in your backyard sanctuary surrounded by the smell of flowers and butterflies in the air, you'll know it was all worth it.
Okay, so a second lease on life for Papillon with new mechanics as a roll and write. And generally, I like roll and writes. I think they're always very pleasant to play. Some are better than others, and hopefully this will be a good one. But I think it was worth a look. Okay, so let's. We already talked about the fact that it's not funded, but it probably will be. The campaign will end on May the 16th. And let's take a look at some of the pledge levels here. So the game itself is $20. They do have a deluxe version for $30. That's going to include deluxe stamps and ink pads. So the base game won't have that. So here are the deluxe ink pads over here. And then these big deluxe wooden stamps. Okay. Yeah, and then it just goes up to retailer pledges. So this is not, obviously, it's a roll and write. It's not hugely expensive. And what are we looking at for the shipping here? So $10 for the retail version, so it brings it to a $30 for continental US. And for the deluxe, you're looking at $12 shipping, so $47. Also, let's go back very quickly. Well, I suppose I need to call this up. Gamefound. Secrets. I said secrets. Secrets of the Greenwold. Okay, the reason I'm doing this is because I forgot to look at delivery dates. So Secrets of the Greenwold is going to be delivering in April 2024. They Live the card game will be delivered in November 2023. Endeavor Deep Sea is going to be delivering in May of 2024. Guards of Atlantis 2 is looking to deliver in October 2024. So, you know, this is like a year and a half off. Just keep that in mind. And Papillon Gardens is looking at February 2024. So those are our 5 campaigns for today. It was a shorter week, which is probably good since I was gone and this video is coming out later. Hopefully you're catching this over the weekend. I hope you're having a great weekend. I'll be back on either Wednesday or Thursday with the next video, looking at everything that's launched, you know, this week. And behind the scenes, I am working on getting new equipment in and getting going on my relaunch teach and review videos and live streaming games. So I'm gonna keep doing these crowdfunding roundups once a week for the next several weeks to months, and then I should be debuting more content. The best way to support the channel right now is simply to like and subscribe, so please consider doing that. Eventually, once that other content does launch, I'll be launching a Patreon at some point in the future, but I see no reason to do that until I feel like there's content coming out that even merits my asking for a little financial support via Patreon. So in the meantime, I'm just very appreciative if you can like and subscribe, and subscribing is also the best way to stay in the loop. So when that other content does start to appear in the next couple months, you will be alerted as it does. So thank you very much for joining me here today. Have a great weekend. Get some great games played. I know for me, I'm looking at behind the lighting setup. I've got my big Too Many Bones trove chest that I'm working, kind of getting assembled with different content and stuff. I don't have everything yet, but the stuff that I do have is going in there. And I have a friend coming over and we're going to be doing some Too Many Bones tomorrow. And that is something in the future I hopefully will be live streaming. That's one of the focuses I want the live streaming to be on, are these campaign games that I think will be very fun to, you know, be able to all enjoy together, me and my co-players and you.